Yes, it should be much better. We have a better camera this week. Don't.
Yeah, you do. Así que. I'm sorry. I on the chair.
So it worked for y'all last week?
It did.
Good.
I'm gonna
I'm very glad for that. We're ready for new internet service.
You said taking,
No, not at all. Those are just leftovers
Okay.
from service yesterday. Move this stuff out of
Where we are. Chapter 2. Okay. I'm not behind. Yeah, it was pretty good. I only had 2 brief glitches where everything froze, but I think that was on my side though.
Yeah, there's a lot between
Yeah.
here and there that could cause
Yeah.
that.
Oh, so I catch up.
Oh, yeah, you'll catch up easy.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
perfect, a perfect alternative for things that we did not realize when we planned them, that this was gonna happen.
Right.
The only thing that I couldn't understand was the difference between in the vowels, in the first vowels, the the one that is a line and the one that's like a T.
Uh-huh.
What's the difference?
There's not.
There's no difference. I know.
As
So-
far as we're concerned, there's no difference. A native speaker would be able to tell you
The
that
difference?
one is a little longer than the other,
Okay.
but when you're speaking rapidly or you're just learning, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah, because there's actually 4 vowels that all say ah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a matter of how long they get held in the word. And it's kind of weird. And so if you're, like I said, if you're native, you know it.
Yes, I can imagine.
You can tell what somebody's saying. But also if you know the word, you know what vowel they're saying in there. If you change the vowel, it does change the word.
Oh,
So it does matter which ah you're talking about.
it matters. Yeah, it matters.
So when you're writing, you have to have the right one. When you're speaking, if you just say ah, they're going to know which vowel it is. In the same way that English has multiple E sounds,
Yeah.
EE or EA or just E or with a silent final E that changes it.
Yep.
We know what it is because we know the words. Same goes for them.
And then same goes for the O, you know?
Yep, for
The
the O.
dot or the one that with the,
Yes, with the Vav in it, the whole.
yeah, exactly.
Yep, same exact. Unfortunately, I can't make that camera capture that screen any more than it does. So on the video, it won't be as clear. So if you go back and look at this, hopefully you've written down what is going to be up on that screen. But that's for exercise 2, I think it is. Which one am I in? I'm not Hebrew 2, I'm in Hebrew 1. Get the right book. And we are gonna, there are more people coming, so we'll give it a few more minutes.
I'm copying you. I did it correctly or not?
Right. I had to remind myself where we were. This is the first time I've had to teach 2 Hebrew classes,
Oh, really?
and I'm not sure. I have to remember which one I'm in chapter 1 and which one I'm in chapter 2.
Oh, wow.
So, but yeah, this one we're going over the homework for chapter 2. We'll be starting chapter 3 today. There's Eric.
I'll sit here. You don't play, do you?
It depends on the day.
The day and the hour? You had a birthday not too long ago, did you?
Thursday,
How old are you?
11.
How much did your dad pay to be good?
Done.
So you're 11 and you're good for nothing.
Yeah. That's
So what else you got to tell me?
That's exactly right.
I thought Dad would like that.
That's the truth.
I love that joke.
For that hamster joke. Always had the workout kick out of it. No sugars. He's probably blue. Flipping ice, they all have one of those. Fine, we'll just get online.
Is there a,
My
Is there
daughter,
like a Hebrew Jewish store? Like see all these Christian stores that have Bibles and
mm-mm.
flashcards, and she was wondering about flashcards, and I have never seen.
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Yeah, the only place to get Hebrew paraphernalia is at a synagogue's, like, in-house store. But they usually don't
Is
sell
there
that
a
sort of-
synagogue out on the north side of Greensboro somewhere by the airport, that big one?
Yeah, Temple Emmanuel
Is that what
out
it
on
is?
Jefferson. They have a gift shop that they sell a few things. I don't know that any of it's
Would have that.
useful for that. Beth David, which is off of Friendly, not too far from here, also has a gift shop, but it's very rarely open. It's run by the ladies of the congregation there, and so it's not always open, and they don't publish their hours or anything. It's kind of like if you go there, you know when to go, but
They're open when they're there, and they're closed when they're not.
basically. Then they also run a school there, so it's kind of like you don't want to just show up
Yeah.
and
Start pounding on windows.
right. Yeah, they kind of frown upon you just showing up randomly. Okay.
Thanks for the advice, Joe.
Yeah. then there's a Chabad house, which is ultra orthodox, and they won't even let you near the building. If you're
They don't
not,
let you go into the building?
they won't let you near the building if you're
Oh,
not.
really?
If you're
You'd
not,
have to dress
if you're
in
not
suit
one of
and
them,
tie.
you don't go near it
It's okay.
because you're a goy and you'll make them unclean.
Yeah, I know.
Gosh, he just taught you that. That's a line. Go back to chapter 1. Sure. Well, it was probably made by an American company trying to translate.
Gotcha.
They'll understand what we're trying to sell them.
And there is a series of books out there called, I think it's called The Basics of Biblical Hebrew, that they sell like a big fold out sheet that has every rule and everything you could possibly want on it.
Where you can find it?
Amazon.
In Amazon, as a name?
And Basics of Biblical Hebrew. But they also, I think it's them, they also have a set of flashcards, but it's going to be way more than what we're going to cover here. It's going to be like a huge pack of them that long term would be helpful, but just for this class, it would be overkill.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
So, is that just the written?
That's the name, but that's the pronunciation written out in Hebrew.
So when it says. What do we have on there? Is that
There'd probably be two dots.
2 dots? Oh, yeah, I saw 2.
They call it that. I would have thought it would be
Vocabulary cards. Yeah, they don't have.
2 dots is A.
2 dots, 3 dots.
3 dots is A.
Yeah, so I would have thought that would be 3 dots.
Oh, that, yeah.
They didn't write it that way, so.
Yeah, I see the-
Pronouncing it just
I see the laminated study sheet on there, and it's $11 on Amazon.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
For the Biblical Hebrew laminated sheet.
Is it the alphabet chart you're
It's
looking at?
all the letters.
Is it this? Can you see it in there? Yeah, I couldn't either.
Nope, not that. It
Okay.
looks
Oh,
like-
this one.
It looks like this,
Oh, okay,
and
Because-
it folds out, and it's got
This one?
okay.
Yeah.
yes, that one.
Oh, okay.
Because I was looking at these here. These ones here, the cards, and that came with these flashcards. So
Oh, good. Thank you. Laminated cards.
All right. Well, I guess this is about it for this week.
Mhm.
Annette's not coming. Melissa's not going to make it. So we will go ahead and get started. So last week we covered 2 new letters, 3 new symbols, 2 new actual letters. The Lamed, which says what?
Mem,
Le.
Mem,
The Lamed,
Lamed,
which is Le,
La,
and then the Mem, which has
and,
and then it has the Mem Sophit, the second form of it, which only comes at the end of a word that says And then we had 2 new vowel symbols, but they both say the same thing.
Oh.
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 So now we've got ah, we've got O. 4 symbols, 2 sounds.
Mhm.
And there will be more that say O later. Hebrew's kind of a crazy language when you start looking at it, but you get used to seeing these things. And so by the time you get to the end of the book, this is old hat. You're like, oh, okay, I know which one that is. You won't even need to worry about it. We also had new vocabulary word. We already had Shabbat, which means Sabbath. Shabbat means Sabbath. And it has a root, Shin Vet Tav, which means rest, cease from labor.
Mhm.
And then this past chapter we did Shalom,
Shalom.
which means peace.
Peace.
And it has a root, Shin Lamed Mem, which means
Completeness?
whole or complete,
Yes.
right? So when we say shalom, it's more than just not fighting, it's a much bigger meaning to it. There's more depth to just, hey, peaceful. No, we're talking about a whole encompassing peace, right? A big deal. So, your exercises for this week, starting on page 18. You had to draw lines connecting the sounds to the correct Hebrew word. Now, these are not real Hebrew words. These are just making the sounds, so you get used to using the sounds and seeing the symbols and associating them together. So, Hebrew, we always go right to left. So we're going to start in the far right-hand Hebrew column. Top one is what?
Tom.
Tom. Good. The second one,
Bomb.
Bon, right? Notice the English has a B on the end of it. It's a silent B in English. There wouldn't be a bet
Oh.
on the end of the
Mhm.
Hebrew word. We're looking for sounds, not equivalent spellings.
Okay.
We're just looking at sounds. There are odd spellings in English that aren't going to translate over into Hebrew when you make the sound. And the bottom one,
You said
Told.
toll. Again, English has two L's there. That's not something they ever do in Hebrew. They don't ever double a consonant. You will not have two lameds next to each other like that, like you would in English with two L's.
Mhm.
You're always going to have a consonant followed by a vowel and then another consonant.
Yeah.
All right. The next column of Hebrew, the top one is
That will be ball.
ball, right? The next one down, mom. And the last one, mole.
Mole.
By process of elimination, we get mole. Hopefully, we get it by actually knowing the sounds. Now, the next one, you had to write out the Hebrew letters to make those sounds. I'm going to put them up on the board as we go so that you can see them, make corrections, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Things to remember. We're always right. We always write right to left.
Mhm.
So the first letter we're going to make for moat is going to be what?
Mem.
A mem. It's going to be on the far right-hand side. There are two lines here. That's because there are two different ways that you could have written this. Right?
Two hold on.
Because we have two holums. We have a holum Malay and we have a holum Haser.
That's the sound of O.
Both say O, but you
Okay.
could use either one.
You call it Holland?
When we write it out, we're going to have mem, we're going to have the holum. Notice,
Oh, I
here
did
we
it.
have the holum Malay, and here we have the holum Haser.
So the holum chaser goes over the mem. I was putting it in between.
Put it in between. This is actually a quirk of PowerPoint.
Okay.
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 PowerPoint wouldn't put it in between the two.
How did you call the first one? The Holland what?
Right on.
Malay.
Malay.
You weren't here when we started the book. At the very back of the book, you have
Oh, look at that. Yes, I got.
you have cheat sheets,
Yeah.
There's always
and it
a
tells you the names.
Holo Malay and Holo Haser.
Right.
Oh, look at that. He saw that.
Why they didn't write them in the book, in the chapters, I don't know. And hopefully one day they'll put out a new edition where they fixed these editing errors. But
Cool.
it's a good idea to go ahead and write those names in the chapter when you're learning them so that you have them, because it does become important. When you're trying to tell somebody how to spell something, you need to know which vowel you're talking about. And just saying little t or,
Pata con patas.
just
Yeah.
a dot is kind of vague,
Look at that.
not necessarily correct.
I didn't see this.
Okay, so we have mem, we have the Holam, either Haser or Malay,
Malay, yeah.
and the Tav from Moat.
It's on the top. On the top. Okay.
Now, for every one of these, there's two options.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's Moat. What about B, Boat?
B boat will be bet.
Mm-hmm.
Holland Maheke.
Right, Holam Malay
Malay, Holland Malay,
Holland
and
Haser.
Tet.
or Holam Haser and Tav.
Tot.
Tav. We haven't had Tet yet. Tet
No,
comes
Tot,
later.
yes.
There is a Tet, but we
Tav.
don't have Tet
Yes.
yet. So yes, we have Bet, we have the Holams, either Malay or Haser, and Tav.
That was the first one you said. Tot. Yeah.
Everybody got that?
Tot.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, how about Bowl?
Bet,
Mm-hmm.
Holland Malay, and Lamet.
Right,
And then Llama.
and then Lamed. Good. Right, so Bet, the Holams, either one, and then Lamed.
Correct.
There's no W stuck in the middle of it. Again, we're taking the English sounds. Usually the first time we hit this exercise, everybody's like trying to add in letters, like because the English has 4 letters. It can't just be 3. It is. It's just 3. We're looking for sounds, not equivalent letters going back and forth.
Mhm.
Then shoal.
Shin,
Holland.
Either of the Holams
Lamet.
and Lamed. Now again, this is a quirk of PowerPoint that shouldn't be there. It should be right in between the two. And then there's tome,
Tav.
Tav,
Tav,
Holland.
Holland,
Holams,
Memsofit.
Mensofet.
Memsofit.
Mhm.
Right. Make sure the one in the end is a Sofit form. We never have an open mem at the end of a word. Next we have lobe,
Lo will be Lamet,
lamed,
Holland,
either holam
Bet.
and bet. Right. What about lob? Mm-hmm.
Holmes.
Nope.
Lo.
What vowel do we need there?
Ah. The Pawtucket orca.
We need the patak or commence here because we're making an ah sound, not an
Lob.
o sound.
Oh, really?
Lob.
Oh, wow. Long.
We're thinking sounds here.
Yeah, I didn't even
That-
differentiate lobe and lobe.
That
Lobe and lob, I didn't
Lobe and
differentiate
lob,
at
that,
all.
That is
that
being
O will throw you like that
Oh,
because
okay,
in
okay.
English we have an O that says ah, right?
So it will be Lamet
Right.
And Patak. Come on.
Patak or
or
commence.
Kamas.
Yeah.
Patak, Kamas, and a Bet.
Tricky little booger.
Can I ask you a question? Why the Bet has this little dot in the middle?
With the dagesh,
Mm-hmm.
it's b.
B.
Without it, it's the.
Oh,
We
like
don't-
a
we don't
sounds
learn
of the
that till
V as a
later.
Victor?
Yes,
Oh.
we learn that later.
So without the like a V as a Victor and with the dot, it's
With
like a
it,
B
it's
as a
a B.
boy.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yes,
Like the Pawtucket and the other one,
commence.
the commences are not necessarily interchangeable. Is the
They are
interchangeable?
they are not interchangeable. Vowels are not interchangeable. There are multiple vowels that make the same sound, but they are not interchangeable. You change the vowel, you've changed that word.
Are you just saying either one, and I was like,
For this purposes, we're not making real words here. We're just making the sounds.
okay. all
You
right.
can make the sounds in 2 ways. That's all it is. We're not making true words. This is not translation.
Okay.
This is
Yeah, good.
transliterating English into Hebrew, making sounds. That's it. So, boat is not boat in Hebrew. It would be an entirely
That's
different
another thing,
word.
yeah.
It'd be easier if it were.
It would be. It would be much easier if all the languages were that. Then they'd all be English. Right?
Yes.
So, Yeah, we are not making real words here. We are purely making sounds. This is not translation. You don't actually do translation in Hebrew 1 at all. Hebrew 2, you start with translation. So
Okay. Makes
Oh, I
sense.
thought those last two. I read it as low,
Right.
and for whatever reason, I didn't read it as a lot.
you read it.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
loat.
So the last
That's what,
one.
that's what I did. And I'm sitting here like, loat, what kind of word is that? That's stupid. I'm sitting there doing this. Loat, what the heck is that?
But I figured,
You
okay,
know?
you're just learning
You're
the
just so used to
sounds.
going,
so-
oh, yeah.
Right.
Loat.
Well, they're dragging in a little bit from chapter 1 to remind you,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
there's other sounds other than O right now.
Well, they got us.
I feel like a dope.
Okay, makes sense.
So,
Looks like sound,
last
like
one,
a-
Lamed, Pataka Kometz,
And then,
and Tav to
Right.
make those sounds.
Tav.
Lot.
Lot. Yeah, it sounds like a ah.
Ah. You've got to sort of break your
I had to think
eyes
from-
and your.
I had to
hearing
jump from the
apart there.
Spanish to English to the sound in Hebrew.
She's translating 3 times.
I translated lot, like L-O-T.
Right. Just we got to think sounds here. We're not thinking or letter transfer. We're thinking sound transfer into Hebrew.
But the word in F, love, it sounds like a O.
Lobe. Right.
Lobe.
In English, that silent final E makes the O say its name. So it's
Lobe.
lobe.
Is that a grammatical rule? I hadn't heard that one. I like it. A silent E makes the O say its name.
We
Or
have.
did you just make it up?
No, we're a homeschooler family. So we
Oh.
have a like a spelling curriculum
Uh-huh.
that has all these flashcards for all these rules, and
I
it's
like it.
insane. And there's
I like
5 silent final E's. There's 5 different ones for it
Oh my goodness.
because English words can't end in a U or a V. So if it ends in a U or a V, you have to have a silent final E on the end.
Oh.
There's other. It's every vowel or every syllable has to have a vowel. So if we're getting into English grammar here, Hebrew,
I
it's
just hadn't heard
it's
that,
crazy.
you know,
There's
like
5
I
silent
before
final
E except
E's.
after C, that kind of thing. And I said, oh, no,
Right.
I heard that one.
But in the Hebrew grammar, there is not vowels, right? Sounds.
In the
written, yeah.
in the regular written Hebrew, there's not written vowel
No, I
points.
never see in the.
The vowel points were added much later
Mhm.
in order to preserve the language.
Oh, okay.
Because by about 400, 500 AD, the language was dying out. The people were scattered throughout Europe and the rest of the world. People stopped speaking it because they would get persecuted for it. So they spoke Spanish or
Yeah.
whatever country they were in, they spoke the local language. Hebrew became ceremonial only, and then it died out completely, just about. Between 400 and 800, a group of dedicated people got together and sat down and came up with all these little dots and dashes and lines to signify the vowels so that they could remember the language when they needed it.
That's good.
So right around 900 AD is when we see our first Hebrew Bible with vowel
dots.
pointings in it.
Mm.
That's when we first start seeing
Wow.
written Hebrew language
Mm.
with vowels, called the Masoretic texts. And the great thing is those are the first written ones that we have, and they still match up. If you take out the vowel pointings, they match up to ones 800 years older without the vowel points. The Dead Sea
Great.
Scrolls match the Masoretic texts
Oh, nice.
within a couple of percentage points. So it's amazing that it was preserved.
Mm-hmm.
It's a God thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Sorry, I dropped
Awesome.
the cap to my water and I don't want to spill it. So, all right, exercise 3.
Mhm.
You're supposed to read the vowel and the letter and vowel combinations, and then circle the sound alikes in each line. So, who wants to do line A? Gabe, do line A for me. Read it all the way across.
Wow.
Lol, the first one. Yep.
Low.
Lol,
Losh. Wash.
losh. There you go. Good.
Losh.
Losh. Good.
La Roche,
La Loche. Uh-huh.
La Roche,
La Loche. Excellent.
La Roche.
La Loche. Okay, which two sounded the same?
Fifth and last.
The fifth and last ones. They both say La Loche. Now notice that's the one time that you will see a Dagesh, not the one time. I say things like that. Right now, it's the one time we know of that the Dagesh does double duty. It's acting as both a holum and as a signifier for that sheen to tell you that it
Oh.
says shh.
La Loche in the number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The fourth one in and the fifth one in have that.
Okay.
You see how there's only the Dagesh over the sheen?
Yeah.
There should be a Dagesh over the sheen normally,
Yeah.
Right.
but we don't
We don't
put
put it
two
like this.
Dageshes that close together. So they say, okay, well, if you have a sheen that's following a holum malay
Mhm.
or a holum aser, excuse me,
That consonant has to have a vowel.
then it's going to have one
1 minute.
Dagesh
Mhm.
doing two things.
Okay.
If you move that Dagesh, we learn it in a much later chapter. Sheen has an alternate with a Dagesh on the other side
Yeah.
that says s, not sh.
Mm. So when it has the dot in the
If it's on the left side,
left side, sounds the shin.
on the left side, it's a s. On the right side, it's a sh. Right now, we're only dealing with the right side.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a holum haser followed by a sheen and put those two Dageshes that close together. They make that Dagesh over the sheen do double duty and both be a holum and the sheen.
Good.
Again, this is something you'll get used to seeing.
Yeah.
Because you'll start looking for these vowels and you'll be like, there's no vowel here, there must be a vowel here, it must be that kind of a thing. And there are other places where that happens. All right, who wants to do line B? Eric, thank you, sir. The first one,
Bowl,
bowl, good.
ball,
Ball,
ba, lol,
ba, lol, good.
ba, ball,
Ba, ball, good.
ba, bowl,
Ba, bowl,
ba, ball.
ba, ball.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
So we'd be the last one and back up.
So
So the third from the end and the end.
Right, the fourth one and the
Yeah,
sixth one.
fourth, I'm sorry, fourth.
Yes.
Fourth one and the last one. Very good. Line C. You want to try it, Felipe?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Shal,
Shawl, good.
Shol,
Mm-hmm.
Shala,
Shola, good.
Sholo,
Sholo, uh-huh.
Sholam,
Sholam, very good.
and Shol.
And Shol, great.
The second and last one.
Second and last one.
Mhm.
There you go. All right, who wants to try D?
Okay. So it would be mall.
Mall,
Mall. It would be mall.
mole, good.
Malo.
Molo, uh-huh.
No, it's molo and malo.
Malo,
Malo. And
Yeah.
then malom.
malone, good.
Malone. Mall.
Mole, good.
And molam.
Molam,
Molam.
excellent.
Mhm.
Good. Which two matched?
Second.
Second one,
And the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
sixth one. Good. Second and sixth. Excellent.
Yeah.
Line E. Who's up? Joshua.
Tan,
Mm-hmm.
Tom,
Tone. Good.
Toman.
Not Tomam.
Oh, Tomat.
Tomat. There you go.
Tomato. Yeah.
Tomo.
Tomo. Mm-hmm.
Toman.
Good.
Tomo.
Tomo. Good.
I would say the fourth one and the last one.
Fourth one and the last one.
Mhm.
Great. And line F. Pretty much losing.
Like who, me?
Deborah?
Yeah.
Is it right? Okay, good.
Okay, so we have Shom,
Shom, good.
we have Sham,
Uh-huh.
we have Shamam, Shamam,
Good.
Shamam. We
Excellent.
have Shamon.
Shamom,
We
good.
have Shamosh, Shamosh,
Shamosh, good. There you go.
and then we have Shom.
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 There you go. Perfect.
So we have the first one and the last one.
Right. First one and last one. Shom.
Yes.
Very good. Excellent.
Mhm.
Now, exercise 4 is purely just reading out loud.
Mhm.
And again, we'll do a few of these. We'll skip lines here and there just to get through it. We don't have to read every line. But I want everybody to at least read once because it's good practice to read out loud in a group so that you can hear it,
Mhm.
both other people say it and so that you can make those sounds. When we do them at home, we may not be sure of what we're saying or how we're saying it.
Yeah.
So hearing it in a group definitely helps. So line A, we'll start Joshua over here. Give me line A.
Ta,
Mm-hmm.
Tosh,
Good,
Bosh,
good.
Tone? No, Bone.
Bosh.
Bosh. Bosh. my bad.
Bosh, there you go.
Shosh.
Uh-huh.
Shoshash. Shoshash.
Shoshash. Yeah, there's a lot of shoshash. Shoshash. All right, let's skip to line C and Marcelo.
Okay,
Do I have that?
so it will be tot, tot,
Uh-huh.
toto,
Toto, good.
like the group, totat,
Totot.
shotat.
Excellent.
Okay.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Is it Marcella? Am I good? Give me Marcella.
Yeah, Marcela. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to remember names. I'm terrible with names. So,
Shotat.
Deborah? Line, we'll drop you line E. We'll skip
Line
lines here.
All right. So we have Moan,
Mome? Uh-huh.
we have Moat,
Good.
Mot,
Excellent.
Mot,
Uh-huh.
Mot, and Tosh.
No, not quite.
Bo. Why?
That middle letter.
Me. Bomash.
Bomash.
Sorry.
There you go. Yep.
I was looking at the thing underneath. It's an English thing.
Yep.
And Bosch.
Bosh. Excellent. Melissa, do you feel comfortable reading out loud? Okay.
Which one?
Let's do line H. Jump down a couple.
Bo,
Mm-hmm.
Bone,
Good.
Shom,
Right.
Shamam,
Shamam. There you go.
Shalom,
Mm-hmm.
and Shalom. No, Shalash,
Shalash.
Shalash.
Shalash. Good. All right, Felipe, line J.
Shab,
Shab. Good.
Sham,
Mm-hmm.
Shabab,
Shabab. Good.
Shamam,
Yep.
Shamom,
Shalom. Very good. And
Shalom.
Shalom. Excellent. Eric, line L.
You see, this is where I screwed up number 8.
Number eight.
Number 8. Yeah, see, that's where I screwed up. Why? Because of this. Loat.
Loat.
Because we're doing made up words.
We're doing made up words.
Yeah, so see, that's tricky there, man, because you're getting us doing 2 different things. All right, loat.
Yep.
Latote. Lotote.
Right.
Lomote.
Lomote. Good.
Lomot.
Mm-hmm.
Lomosh.
Lomosh. Good. All right, Gabe, line N.
Rabat,
Mabat. Good.
Shabbat,
Shabbat. Yes.
Shabbat, Shabbata.
No, what's that vowel there toward the end?
Oh,
Shabbat.
Shabbat. Oh,
Shabbatot. Shabbatot.
Shamot.
Shamot, good.
Shamot.
And the last one,
Shamot.
Shamon, good. Yannette, how you feeling? All right. So, with that done, we can move on to chapter 3. Got 6 letters, 4 vowels, 2 vowel sounds, or 2 vocabulary words, right? A couple of roots,
We've learned a lot.
and now we get to add we've learned a lot. Doing that. So now we get to learn 2 new letters, 2 new consonants. The first one is a hey, and it would sound like our H in English. Just a breathy sound.
But it looks like the top.
Looks very
The
similar
symbol.
to the top.
Like separated, yeah. Mhm.
There's a separation between the horizontal and the left vertical. And the left vertical also doesn't have that little foot, that little hook on the end of it at the bottom. That gap is important there. If you close that gap, you have changed the letter into a chet.
Right.
Makes a completely different sound, has a completely different meaning in a word. They are not interchangeable. The other one we're learning is a resh. Now, a native speaker would be more guttural with a resh. It would be resh.
Right.
Let's not get into that. It's hard enough for us to get.
Right.
Let's stick with resh for the purposes of the class. And it says r, just like our R. It's actually fairly easy to remember because it looks like a backwards R.
Yeah.
Looks like a backwards lowercase r. Not hard to remember that. So the first one, hey, says hey. The resh says r. Fairly simple. If we look at line C, we get to put that together with, on the next page, page 21, we get to go ahead and just put it right together with vowels. So the first one, line C, would be
Raw.
ra,
Wrong.
then ra. The third one, ha,
Wrong.
ha, ro, ro, ho,
Oh.
ho, lo, mo, show, bo. Everybody cool with that? Pretty comfortable? Hey and resh aren't that difficult.
Wrong.
These are fairly easy letters.
Home.
Now, a hey at the end of a word is not pronounced.
Oh, okay.
Like in English, you put an H at the end of a word, like Sarah, a name like Sarah, you're not hearing that H so much. You could kind of emphasize it, Sarah, if you wanted to, but you'd run out of breath pretty quickly. So, a hey that shows up at the end of the word is going to sound like it's not even there.
Okay.
So if you look at line I going across there, you have ra, then you have ra. They sound the same. The hey
What
at the
is?
end is silent on
Okay.
line I.
Wrong.
We start from the right.
Wrong.
Is there any kind of a rule about H at the beginning? Because a lot of times I don't hear the H at the beginning of words too.
No, it's there. It's definitely there. Now,
I got more.
English, we have dialects that drop the H. Hebrew, it's possible that there are some accents that people have that would drop it.
Or maybe the difference between the Sephardic and Ashkenazi or something.
Possible. I've never heard a difference in that sense, not from an academic standpoint. A practice standpoint, it's hard to say.
That's the question I've had for a long time because I keep on and on and on hearing it, you know, or not hearing it. And I'm like, what's the rule on that at the beginning?
Yeah, it should be pronounced at the beginning from a rule standpoint, it's there, it should be pronounced. But at the end of a word, it's not. So let's look at line J.
J.
The first one, ROM. The second one,
J?
line J,
Oh, J.
On
J,
page
J, J,
21.
sorry. J.
Rama for the second one. The third one,
Oh, Roma.
Roma. Good.
Roman.
Romam.
Ramon.
Romam. Ramam.
Ramon.
Mhm.
Ramon.
Ramon.
Rome.
And Rome.
Mhm.
Good. Line K, we get to see that hey at the beginning of the word. So the first one,
Hall.
whole. The second one,
Hall.
hall. The third one,
Halal.
halal. Mm-hmm.
Hello.
And hollow.
Hahal.
There you go.
Hahol.
Hahol.
Holal.
Holal. Excellent. Yeah.
Mhm.
Not really difficult. Now, in English, our R's affect how we say the vowel that comes before it. C-A-R is going to be car. When we try to say things like that in Hebrew, because we speak English natively, most of us, and it's somewhat the same for Spanish.
Yeah.
The R is going to affect how we say the vowel that's before it. With ah and o, it's not such a big deal. When we get into the eh sound, like her, it's more like an rather than an eh. So we'd have hey, sagol, reish. We would say it her, but it's more like hair. It's kind of quirky, kind of.
Mhm.
Our English is going to affect how we pronounce those letters. Looking at line M, not too difficult because ah and o. You have tar,
Tor.
tor, tator, tatar, tara, good, and Torah. Now you might think, Torah,
Torah.
Torah, Torah, we got Torah.
Another
Actually,
word.
we don't.
Does it write like this?
There's a difference in Torah, and I have to look. I got to cheat a little bit. Yes, it is, and it gets into it in the next page. Now,
Torah.
there's this little section here that talks about these dots. Dots often appear in Hebrew letters and serve various functions. In most cases, the dots don't affect the pronunciation of the word. So,
We're in here.
okay. I think she didn't want to freak me out if I heard people talking out front. I love Judy. Yeah, in most cases, the dots don't affect the pronunciation of the word. However, 3 Hebrew letters are changed by the appearance of a dot. That dot is called a dagesh. D-A-G-E-S-H, dagesh. Now, I have a 3-page handout that explains dageshes and explains when they're used, when they're not used, and all that, but it's very technical.
Okay.
And so at this point, if I handed it to you, you would read it and be like, this is complete gobbledygook. I really don't know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
I am more than willing to print them out, bring them, and leave them here for you if you want them. And I will do that next time. And you can look through them. They might not make sense to you now, but by the time you're done with the class, they will start to make much more sense. You'll be like, oh, okay, now I understand why he says this versus that. So this book doesn't really get into it as far as why it might be there and might not be.
Mhm.
Now, there are some letters that it shows up in that it doesn't affect the pronunciation of the word. The tav being one of them. If you look on page 22,
Mhm.
the word Torah has a dagesh in the tav. Why it's there, I can't fully explain. I've heard a number of different reasons. Some of them are more artistic or metaphysical or mystical than any real explanation would be. As in, it's saying, oh, well, this word is different because it's talking about the Torah. Well, that's not generally why they would put a dagesh there. They generally put dageshes there for some grammatical meaning, not some deeper hidden meaning. So why it's there has more to do with grammar than anything else. The hey, not in Torah, but in general, you will see heys at the end of words that have a dagesh in them. And the reason it's there is to signify a feminine ending
Alrighty.
on particular words. Now, that's not important even for Hebrew 1. I'm just trying to illustrate that some words will have a dagesh for a grammatical meaning that becomes apparent when you know the language better. You'll be like, oh, okay, it's got an H on it. It's got a hey at the end. It's got a dagesh in it. That means it must be referring to a feminine group or a feminine person or possessive belonging to a woman. That kind of thing. So why that dagesh is in the tav does have a grammatical purpose, I don't know it. I haven't found a clear, solid explanation as to why it's there. As soon as I do, I'll let y'all know. But the word Torah does have multiple meanings, just like most Hebrew words. English is a more exact language than Hebrew is. We take our root linguistically from Greek, from German, from we are a mutt of a language when it comes to it. We get it from Latin, we get it from Greek, we get it from German, we get it from Saxon, we get it from Old Norse. We get lots and lots and lots of roots in our words. Hebrew, however, is a much more descriptive language, a much more poetic language, and doesn't derive from the same broken up roots that we did. So, one word can have multiple meanings. Torah, while we would say, yes, Torah means law. That's what's written in this scroll right here. It's what's written in that scroll over there. It also means instruction. It also means teaching. So when a rabbi is handing down a teaching to his students, he's handing down a Torah to his students. Now, you might consider your teacher's word law. If I hand down instructions to my children, I expect them to obey them. What I say is law in my house. So there is some crosstalk there. Right? I give you instructions, I expect you to do them. I teach you at home, I expect you to do it. What I say is Torah. In all senses of the word.
Alright.
So, not that you do. So, when we're talking about the Torah, it will have that dagesh in it. If it doesn't have that dagesh in it, it's generally not talking about the Torah. It's generally talking about any law, instruction, or teaching.
Okay.
Now, sometimes what's written down in these scrolls is referred to as the written Torah, while the Talmud is the oral Torah, the tradition. If you speak to someone who is of the Orthodox or even of the more conservative sects of Judaism and you just talk about Torah, they're going to think you're talking about both. They're going to think you're including both written and oral. So you have to be kind of specific when speaking to a native Jew in Israel. If you go to them and say, I'm a Torah keeper. Oh, really? You are? Who's your rabbi? They're going to want to know where you get your, yeah. And then they're going to be like, we're done here.
The movie Yentl,
Yes,
have you seen it?
many, many years ago.
I watched it a million times, but whenever King is in it, I watched it again and I got shocked. I realized that every time they start arguing, her and what's his name, they start arguing, and she's like, "But it's written, and Rabbi so and so says on page this and this and that and the other," and they never once in the entire movie referred to God's actual written word.
No, they're referring to Talmud.
All Talmud.
They refer to Talmud.
It
Almost
was never,
exclusively.
well, God says, this and this and this in Deuteronomy. It was all, well, Rabbi so-and-so says on book 3, and page this, And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes. Especially in the more Orthodox, oral Torah and written Torah are very, very, very close in terms of priority. They would say that written Torah is more important. However, you can't have written Torah without oral in their mind. You can't possibly walk written Torah without having an oral Torah to show you how to walk it.
Yeah, it's like saying you can't read the Bible for yourself, because you'll go wrong.
You
So
have to
gotta
have.
all these rabbis to tell you what that means. So it's kind of like the Catholic Church in a way, where they say, you need us to tell you what this means. You can't
Yes.
just be reading it for yourself.
Now, I would say there's great wisdom in the Talmud. There's an incredible amount of wisdom. There's also an incredible amount of nonsense in it. If you've ever actually seen a set of Torah or Talmud, it's 63 volumes, each book, at least 2 inches thick. So it's a very long and tedious thing, and there's a lot of arguments in there with no answers. Rabbi says this, and this rabbi says that. There's no resolution. It's just you have to pick which one you want to follow. And it's like, oh my goodness, you're kidding me.
No worries.
But then there's things like what they have here in the middle of page 22 from Berachot 63b.
That's from the Talmud.
This is from the Talmud.
Mm-hmm.
And what it says in English is Torah, or knowledge, is not gained except in the company of others. We have a parallel scripture that speaks to that. Do not forsake the gathering of the saints. We should gather together.
Mhm.
Because by gathering together, we learn from each other. When I see how you live on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, it affects how I live on a daily and weekly basis. We gain knowledge from one another and seeing how we each live out our lives. So there is wisdom in the Talmud. I would not put it at the same level as Torah. Now, we get 3 new vowel symbols.
And the Torah only came from the 5 books of the
The first 5 books is
The first 5 books of the
considered Torah. Right.
written by God. The Talmud is commentaries from.
The Talmud commentaries were written sometime between 200 and 500 AD.
Okay.
Now, the rabbis would argue that both were given at Sinai. The Torah was handed to Moses, and then the oral Torah was spoken to him so that he could teach others. We don't have that. It doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible. It doesn't tell us, yes, he gave Moses further instructions that aren't written down here. We have commandments like, okay, you should tie tzitzit. How do you tie them? Where's your instruction? It doesn't say in there how to tie them or what they should look like other than they should be white with one blue thread.
Well, it doesn't even say white. It just says they.
All right, you're right. It doesn't say white. It just says one blue thread. It can be any color you want to test one blue cord.
And you tie it however.
Tie it however you want.
best, And you don't need to go deep sea diving and get a particular mollusk, and have that little recipe to make the blue, or otherwise don't put the blue in your
Yeah.
tassel. God didn't give us a recipe.
Right. So there are things we are told that we don't have full instruction for. And I believe that there's a reason why. Because it doesn't matter how you tie your ZZ, how you tie your tassels. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you do and that you can see them. So from that perspective, we don't need an oral Torah. We just have you teach people how to tie them. Where did you learn how to tie them?
From seeing somebody else.
From seeing somebody else tie them. They learned it from somebody else, and they learned it from somebody else. You can actually go to certain communities, certain Jewish communities, and you can tell which rabbi people study under based on how they tie their tassels. Because that's passed down from teacher to teacher, and they teach their students, and then their students teach their students, and it goes on and on for
I
generations.
think that there is no other way other than the one that they're
Right.
doing.
The Jewish lifestyle informs us a lot about the apostolic lifestyle at the time of Yeshua. Because that mentality of this is how my teacher does it, so I'm going to do it, was in existence then. And so when you have 12 people following a rabbi, they go everywhere with him and do everything he does exactly as he did it. So when the 12 are following Yeshua, they are doing everything that he does. They are following him everywhere he goes. They are seeing exactly how he does everything, and so they do it exactly the same way. And
Well,
so-
didn't the Apostle Paul admonish us to follow him as he followed the Son?
Right.
Amen.
Yes.
That tradition.
That tradition still handed down.
Amen.
So it's really, really cool to see that kind of thing. Now, 3 new vowels. Put that up there. The first one, it's 3 little dots that are going to go under the consonant. It's called a segol. Segol.
Did we talk about that last page?
Nope. Well, yeah, I mentioned it last page.
So,
I mentioned it a few minutes ago. And it's that short E sound. Eh. The second one is called a sere. Now, there are multiple ways to spell it. The one in the back of your book, I believe, has it T-S-E-R-E-I.
Easy.
Oh, T-Z-E-I-R-E-I.
Zero.
You could also have T-S-E-R-E. You could have T-S-E-R-E-I. But Zere is how it's Zere. And it says A.
A?
A. Long A.
Oh.
A as in play.
Long A. Okay.
Now, as I said last time, we generally are going to stick to Sephardic pronunciations here.
Sephardic?
There's Sephardic and there's Ashkenazic. We are going to stick, for the purposes of the book, to Sephardic.
Mhm.
However, this one varies a little bit in the Sephardic. Sometimes it sounds like eh. There are certain cases where it does, and we'll get to it on page 23. So, for the most part, you see 2 dots, you're going to go A. You're thinking A.
A.
2 dots side by side. 2 dots one over the other is a completely different vowel.
Shra.
Right. This
Which
is,
we'll cover in the next chapter.
he's taken this class before.
A.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there is also a Zere with a yod, which is the third one there, also says A. The book writes them down as having the same name, Zere, and they're not wrong.
Mhm.
However, to differentiate so that there's no confusion when you're talking about how to spell something, if it's going to have a yod, say so. Call it a Zere yod.
I was kind of wondering about the why with the Holam. We had a Holam Malay and then a Holam Haser. And then with this, why we don't have anything different, like you said, it's the same name for two different symbols that are almost kind of like that first one, I thought, in my mind.
Yes, because they're associating Zere. Every name of these vowels has the way the vowel sounds in the name. Segol sounds like se, sounds like e. Zere sounds like a. Holam, o.
Oh.
Patak, kamatz, ah. So the name of the vowel tells you what sound it's going to make.
Okay.
So that's why you have those. Now, later on, that's not necessarily going to apply.
I think I missed. I mean, what's the difference between the Sere with a yod and the Sere without a yod? You mentioned something? Ah, there's no sense.
No difference.
No difference.
No difference. You can change the meaning of the word, but there's no difference in how we're going to say it. They're both going to say A.
But when you write it, it will have a difference.
When you write it, it's important to put the right one. If you are writing a true Hebrew word, you've got to have the right vowel combination in there. Now, later on, you'll find out that that yod is also a consonant, like our English Y. In the same way that Y in English can be a vowel or a consonant, depending on its usage.
Okay.
Same thing here with a yod. In this case, it's part of a vowel. You will know that it is not being used as a vowel if the yod shows up in the word and has a vowel under it. If it's got a vowel under it, it can't be a vowel. You don't put vowels under vowels. So, looking at page 23, line A starts throwing us in here. The first one,
Raw?
Nope.
Ray.
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 We're talking about Zeres and Zeriod here. Ray. So the first one, Ray. The
Ray.
second one, Ray.
Ray.
The third one,
May.
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 And May. Then
Hey.
Hey.
Hay and Hay.
Bay.
Bay.
Tay.
Lay.
Lay. Shay.
There you go.
Lay.
Excellent. But then look at line B.
Shay.
Heh. Yeah. Heh.
It's a hat.
Reh.
Hat. Okay.
Heh.
What do we say? Eh.
Eh.
It's a short sound. Eh.
Heh.
Okay, so it's hey.
Heh.
Where?
Reh.
May.
Meh.
Hey.
Heh.
She.
Sheh.
Where?
Mhm.
Be.
Beh.
Hey.
Mhm.
Oh no. Oh, hey no.
Heh.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. Heh. Yep.
Le.
Teh.
Tay.
Leh.
Where?
Reh. And meh. There you go. Now, line C, you start seeing how the Zeriod works in there. So the first one.
Main.
No,
No, pardon. Chain.
Not Chaim. That's a Hey. There's not a Het. It's a Hey. So,
Pere.
right. The first one. Haim.
Play.
The second
Hey.
one. Shame. The third one. Tame. You see how that yod doesn't have a vowel following it. So that means it must be with the Zere. It must be part of that vowel.
Got lost.
third,
we didn't see,
third
right?
one in. Line C, third one in.
So you say the first one sounds like a
Haim.
hame.
Yep.
It's shame.
Shame.
Then tame.
Tame. Right. And there's no vowel under that yod. Same thing with the fourth one. Lame.
Lame.
Again, no vowel under the yod. It must be part of the Zere.
Okay.
Then
Lem.
Lem. Mhm.
Mem.
Mem.
Bem.
Bem. Good.
Rem.
And rem. Great. Now, we're going to jump down to line F. I have to look ahead because I can't remember if it
How's
talks
it
about
sound?
it in this chapter or not. It
thought
doesn't
this
talk
one-
about it in this chapter.
Sure.
Why it doesn't, I don't know. But line F,
Charette.
charrette.
Charette.
That is normally how you would think to say it. Our emphasis being on the second syllable. However, when you have two segols in a row, and yes, this is important, and yes, this will be on the final.
Oh, no.
When you have two segols
No.
in a row like that, it's called a segolette.
Segolette.
Segolate.
Segolette.
Spell that in.
Segolate.
No.
80.
80. Segolette.
And what that does is it moves the emphasis back one syllable. So in a two-syllable word, instead of being on the last syllable, it'll be on the first one. In a three-syllable word, instead of being on the third, it'll be on the second.
Move the
I'm saying, you said
The sound?
It moves what?
The emphasis.
The emphasis.
emphasis.
So in this case, the first one there, instead of charrette, it's going to be charrette
But you said it moves the emphasis to the one before it.
to the previous syllable, yes. So you could have an 8-syllable word. It's not going to move it to the first syllable. It's going to move it to the 7th instead of the 8th.
The one before.
It's going to be the one before the end.
Okay, we can say charette. It's like
It's
the
charrette.
symbol is in the emphasis for accent is in the second one, but in this case will be in the first one.
Exactly. So charrette.
Charette. Okay.
The second one there would be merit
Merit.
instead of meret.
Merit.
Are you hearing the difference there?
Merit. Like accents in Spanish.
Yes.
Yes. Merit.
Right.
Okay, then will be Berek.
Berek.
Berem.
Barrett. There you go. The fourth one,
Terem.
Terra.
Terem.
Yep.
Okay. Terem. Like a berem.
What about the fifth one there, the next to last?
It will be Tatum.
Nope.
No, Berek.
It's no longer a segolette because we don't have two segols now.
No, Terem.
Right. Terem.
Terem. Terem. Right?
Terem.
Terem.
Terem. I know that's confusing.
Terem.
You will start to feel these rhythms when we get into actually reading passages that are actual, either Bible or Siddur passages. You'll start to feel that rhythm and start to feel how those things work. It's hard when you're doing nonsense words like this because you're not
Charette.
reading through a passage. I mean,
Charette.
when you're going through and you're like, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, because melech is a segolette.
Melech.
So I'm like, oh, melech.
Melech.
It's just you get the rhythm of these things as you get better at it. So
Can we
right
repeat
now
the
it
sounds
seems-
again?
Right now you want to jab a fork in your head, but
Charette.
it will get easier over time. So the next to last one, terim, or no, not. I did it wrong.
Terem.
Ignore me as I teach you incorrectly. Terem,
Terem.
and the last one, lerem.
So the one with the segolette, it will be terem and terem. That's the difference.
Right.
Terem and terem.
Yes.
Okay. It's pronunciation stuff.
Now, while we did have Torah on the previous page, on this page we have a vocabulary word,
Shem.
except it's Shem.
Shem.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of those exceptions to the Zeri rule that it talks about here in that note at the top. That note at the top of page 23 talks about this. Every so often, some words will be pronounced differently. Why that is has more to do with tradition than grammar. In this case, Shem means name.
Shem.
Hashem,
Shem. Mm-hmm.
Hashem, the name.
The name.
A substitution instead of using the Yod He Vav He to talk about God. Hashem. That's where it comes from.
Mhm.
If you're over in Israel and you ask somebody what their shame is, they'll probably forgive you for being a non-native speaker, but they will correct you and tell you it's Shem.
Shem.
So is that something that's learned as you go along because there's really no rhyme or reason to explain the difference?
Right.
Somewhere?
Yes, it is definitely it's a quirk of the language that you know because you know it, kind of.
Okay.
So, this is one you should know. So when we look down in that box, down page 23, the word name shows up in there in each one of those.
And then on the Bible, see if you can find the Hebrew word name.
Right.
Name. Shem. Here. Shem. Mm-hmm.
Lotisha et Shem. Yod He Vav He Elohecha Lasaveh.
Shem.
Lasaveh.
Here.
That's kind of weird.
So, but that word Shem means only for the name of God, or is name
No,
in any name?
name in
Any
general.
name.
Name in general. There's not a ha in front of that Shem in that first one because it's tied to the Yod He Vav He after it.
Mhm.
Like the king's name or David's name, or if you are talking about something specific, if you're already talking about something specific, then you don't have to put the ha in front of it. You already know that it's belonging to that person and it's a specific name.
Mhm.
So in this case, there's no ha in front of it because it's tied to the Yod He Vav He.
So there's nothing that indicates other than just knowing that sometimes the I is eh and eh is ah.
There are going to be particular words
Okay.
that are pronounced that way.
Mm.
In this book, Shem is the only one that's like that.
Uh-oh.
Long term, you'll find them as you go. And you'll be like going through it and you'll be like, I've heard this word before, but it never said a before. It always had
Mm.
in it. You're like, oh, okay, now I understand. This is one of those. This is one of those weird ones.
Are there a lot of them? What you think?
I've only run into a couple.
That would be good.
I've only run into a couple of them.
So we'll be here. No.
So in this case, no. As far as I know, there's not that many. But I am not fluent enough to be able to say there's 40 versions or whatever. 40 times where this pops up. It's one of those things that if you're a native speaker, you know it. If you're learning, you'll learn it eventually from hearing it.
On top of not having any vowels when you're trying to read, and then they throw you a curve like that, you think you know how to read, and then all of a sudden you realize you don't know how to read.
Yes. At the same time, English is just as bad.
It's
Oh
worse.
my gosh, English is a
worse.
mess.
Yeah,
Yes.
trying to teach English. is
That
so
I
hard.
before E rule.
Oh,
Except
Yeah.
when your foreign neighbor needs you to weigh something.
Yeah, we got a million of those.
So, okay. And then the second one there,
Where are we?
still in that box, the excerpt from the prayer book.
The second word?
The
Right,
second
the
word,
second
yeah.
word, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, say along by it. It's my way.
Shem.
Okay.
Ooh.
Now, one of the quirks about this particular book and this series of books is that every so often they will show you a root, and these roots are important. 3-letter roots. It is important to know them. They will be on the test, and they are in the back of your book. So, open it up. See, you got all your vocabulary words, all your roots right there.
Mhm.
Because you can't look up a word in the dictionary if you don't know the roots. That
Yes.
drives me crazy.
The way that Hebrew dictionaries are written, they are written based on root. The The only way you're going to find it is if you know the root for that word.
What's the word?
And you find it generally in 3 letters.
Shin, mem,
So
okay.
this one, Shin, Mem, Resh,
Guard, keep, or preserve. Oh,
means to guard, to keep,
to preserve.
to preserve.
Guard, keep. So the Shomer.
We don't have a vocabulary word in this book associated with it. But the word that you should keep in mind is shomer.
Shomer.
What is the word shomer?
Guard.
It is the noun guard.
Oh, God.
So like a guard who stands at the door, or a guard on the
Shomer.
on the wall. A guard, a guardian, or a keeper. Shomer. And it's that first, if you look at those list of words that's below it, is the first one there.
Mm,
Shin, Olamale, Mem, Zere, Resh, Shomer.
Shomer.
The one who is guarding. In literal terms.
I am
On
a
page
keeper.
24.
Shomer. Oh, here.
Page 24 has a list of words that all use that root.
Shomer. Shomer. Shomer.
So the phrase Shomer Shabbat is a guardian or a keeper of Shabbat. But boy, does that have some crazy meanings depending on who you're talking to. If you ever want to just run away from the idea of keeping Shabbat, look up the 39 things you can't do. Look up the 39 men unquote, because it's crazy.
Fences.
It's fences around fences around fences to keep you from breaking Shabbat. You can't wear high heels on Shabbat because you might step on grass and cause a hole into which a seed might fall, and that's planting on Shabbat.
Oh, no. Well, in New York, they have the tall skyscrapers.
Yes.
Or large apartment buildings. They come in on Friday. The elevator guy comes in on Friday and fixes it so that the elevator stops at every single floor because you don't have to
Push the
Push.
Then
button.
you don't have to push
the
a button.
button and do
Yep.
some work. And so it just stops at every floor. If you live on the 40th floor, that sounds
Yes.
fun.
You don't turn on a light because that's completing a circuit.
Mm.
You don't drive your car because that's kindling fire.
Mm.
There's all
That's
kinds of things.
That you
If you-
never said.
If you have a book that has something written across the pages, you don't open that book on Shabbat because you are erasing a word.
Oh, no.
That's the most.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's
That's why I
much.
said if you want to jab your eye out with a fork, go study the 39 million, the things you can and can't do
Well,
on
then
Shabbat.
you understand why they jumped on Yeshua when he told the guy to pick up his bed and go home. And they're
Yes.
like,
You're not supposed to carry anything.
"Wow."
or ripping heads, the heads off a grain and eating it on Shabbat. You're picking.
And
No, it's not
the
misleading,
Sabbath
I'm
day
sorry.
walk, they decided.
What's
how
a Sabbath
much-
day walk?
How
How far
much
is that?
walking becomes work.
Yes.
And Yeshua walked everywhere, and on Shabbat,
So yeah, keeping Shabbat when I don't tell anybody that I'm Shomer Shabbat, because that's definitely there's so much meaning tied up in it that you will either give the wrong impression or confuse somebody.
Hmm.
In my Hebrew 1 class last year, lovely lady Carrie, she goes to a Reconstructionist synagogue. It's conservative. She does Shomer Shabbat. She's first of all she's Ashkenazic, not Sephardic, so she pronounces it differently. And then she doesn't drive. She doesn't kindle a fire. She doesn't turn on her lights. She doesn't use any electronics. She doesn't cook. She does everything she can not to break Shabbat by doing one of those things.
Well, that's where Yeshua got after the Pharisees and everybody because he said, you tell all these people to do all this stuff.
You can't
don't
even
do it
keep.
yourself.
Mhm.
And you strain a net. What is that? Strain a net.
Straighten that and swallow them again.
And swallow a camel. And they're still doing it.
can still do it.
He just leaves and they just keep on doing it.
Now, if somebody wants to do that, God bless you. I mean, that's wonderful. I couldn't make it through. I just couldn't. With my life with 5 children, I could not make it through
No.
a day without having to do something that's going to break one of those 39 things. So I do not say that I am a keeper of the Sabbath. Do I keep Sabbath? Yes, I keep Sabbath. I don't do ordinary work on it. I don't talk politics. I don't do stuff that I would do throughout the rest of the week.
Groceries or
Right.
working or something like that.
Right. I stay away from those things that I
As
would
much as you
normally do
can,
on
you know, maybe.
Sunday through Friday.
I think as much as you can is just to dedicate it to the Lord and to family.
We are
If
here.
you have kids and it's
We are here on Shabbat. I get here at 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't leave until 3:30, sometimes 4 o'clock. Am I working here?
Yes, work.
I'm running sound. I'm running video. I'm doing whatever I have to do here. That's for the upkeep of the community. Just like the priests work. I'm not a priest, but just like the priest worked in the temple on Shabbat, so those who serve the community can serve from the community doing what they need
Yep.
to do. It's an act of service. It's an act of worship for me. So I don't have a problem with that. If I were staying home, I wouldn't necessarily do the same things. Now, I might nap most of the day because I can. But for the most part, we're going to find something to do as a family. Even if, I mean, some people are like, you know, we don't do TV, we don't do this. I might sit down and watch a movie with the kids. Why not? I'm spending time with my family.
Sure.
They like to watch cartoons.
We like cartoons. They're great. You know? We're going off on rabbit trails here. Getting close to the end here.
Mhm.
So you can see all these words here on page 24 all have that root of Sheen Mem Resh in there. Now, sometimes there is a vowel stuck in between them, like the very first one. You have a Hola Malay stuck in between the Sheen and the Mem. And if you were to write this without the vowel pointings, the Vav would stay there. It would be Sheen, Vav, Mem, Resh.
Show me.
Shomer.
Shomira.
Oh, Shemira. Yeah.
Shomira.
Right. That's the second one.
It's called
Shemira.
the other one would be
So-
me.
You have to be able to recognize the roots, even with vowels stuck in the middle.
Is there a way to determine, like on that second word, is there a way to determine that it's Sheen Mem Resh and not Sheen Mem Hey? Or
Mm,
is there a way to determine which 3 are the roots or not?
Knowing the
You
words.
just have to know.
You have to know the
Wow.
words. That's the hard part.
No, I want to rule.
memorize it.
No, there's not. That's the thing, is it's so hard. You'll start to recognize what's a prefix and what's a suffix. You'll start to recognize when things are tacked on. And so you'll be able to eliminate stuff at the beginning and the end and be able to narrow it down to the middle. And you'll be like, okay, is this Sheen Mem Vav or is this Sheen Mem Resh? And you'll be like, oh, okay, this must be Sheen Mem Resh based on what comes before it and what comes after it. Its context is going to really tell you a lot of what you're looking at. On this scroll, for instance, no vowel pointings. I know it's hard to see and I'm not going to be able to see it on the camera. But I know that the first word here is,
La.
well, that lamed I know is a prefix
Oh.
because I know that Zayin Kaf Resh is a root meaning remember. So then I can say, oh, this is to remember a person, our father, and I can puzzle it out based on context and knowing the beginnings and endings.
Mm.
Again, that's something that comes much, much, much later. I can't read this whole thing without vowel pointings in it. I just can't. I'm not that fluent. Julio is.
Oh,
He really can. He used to read from that scroll every week. So
So I have a question. How do
Yes.
you read that again? Because I came up with the Show Me Ra, Show Me Ra
on which one?
on the second one that we're the guarding.
Guarding.
Yeah.
Sh because we haven't had Segal yet. There are some vowels here that you haven't
Yeah,
had yet.
that two vowels that we don't have.
Shamir,
Shamira.
Shamira,
Okay,
Shamira.
Shamira.
okay, that's
The third one down, you have a seglet there.
It will be
So, Mish
Mish
Merit.
Merit. Oh,
Niche Merit.
Mish.
It's your shift. My wife works third shift at the hospital, so she's on the third Mish Merit
Mish Merit.
instead of being Mish Merit. It's Mish Merit.
Mishmar. The third one, the fourth one. It will be Mishmar.
Mishmar. Yep.
Mishmar.
Mhm.
Mishmar. Will it be
Mishamer.
Mishamera?
Mishamer.
Mishamera.
Mishmar.
That one.
Shamur.
Shu. It's kind of ooh. Mashumar.
Mishamar.
Mashumar.
Shamur.
Shamur.
Shomron. Which is the word for Samaria. Now, page 25, you got some excerpts there from prayer books.
Mhm.
In there are words that have that sheen mem resh root.
Okay.
Go through the first one.
Shamer.
Right.
Shamer.
Shamor.
Oh, Shamor, yeah.
Shamor.
Shamor.
Very first word.
Mm-hmm.
What about the second one?
Shamor will be
Third word.
Third word.
third word, yeah.
Shomre.
Shomre.
Shomre Shabbat.
Shomre Shabbat, yeah.
Then the third one, they give it away in the title, actually.
First word.
Yeah, the very first word. Vet Shamru.
The Shamor. The first one?
Yep.
The Shamor.
You have that sheen mem resh right there in the middle. You have an oo on the end and a v at the beginning.
Mhm.
But right there in the middle, you have the sheen mem resh.
And what line are we
Yeah,
on?
sure.
Third
Page
one down.
25.
Third one?
The
Third one down.
Shamor.
The Shamu.
Veshamru.
Oh,
The very first word of that
So
whole
addition.
passage there.
Yot.
Now,
Hmm?
the priestly benediction, the Aaronic benediction shows up in there too.
Here. The 1, 2, 3 letter.
third.
Third word of the first line.
What is it already?
Veish merecha.
Beish. That little first one, does it sound like a B?
Va.
Va.
Vaish
Baish.
merecha.
Baish Merecha. Ooh. Baish Merecha. This one. Baish Merecha.
Okay, so from a root perspective, you need to know the sheen mem resh. We're not going to have shomer as a vocabulary word on any quiz, test, whatever.
Mhm.
Not going to show up. You're not going to see shomer. You're going to see sheen mem resh under the roots, and that's it. Okay,
Shalom.
we are done for today. Exercise or page 26 and 27. There's some editing problems on this.
Sure.
If you look at the top of page 27, I mean, they split exercise 2 between the 2 pages. And for some reason, they repeated A and C.
Say that again.
On page 26 or 27, at the top of the page, you see A, bet,
And
and
C.
C, wrote at the bottom of that exercise.
Oh, yeah, A and C.
They don't need to be there
Oh, okay.
because you'll have done them on the page before.
Oh,
Okay,
So,
just to repeat it.
yes, somehow they repeated them and missed that in the editing process.
Okay.
So again, practice writing. We're only doing block form. We're not doing script. You don't need to worry about script.
So that video, the YouTube video we received from the class, is this class? Okay. So
Yes.
just to repeat and review.
Yes.
Good. Excellent.
practice exercise 3 and 4.
Mhm.
And we'll go through it all next week.
Okay.
All right.
Excellent.
Any questions?
No. Very cool.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
The book.
Oh, the book.
I pay the book.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, but that's very cool.